everyone, I just wanted to send you a quick message saying a massive well done for all the hard work you put in during lockdown and a difficult time, and carrying on being the best you can be in lessons. You've all been absolutely incredible, and your determination to do well in your learning has been outstanding. And I also want to say thank you so much for your resilience to keep going and attend every lesson, even when you're feeling tired and unmotivated. It's not easy having to wake up early and go straight to your computer screen, but you've all excelled in your learning and you should be so proud of yourselves. So well done, and I can't wait to see you at school very soon.
Hi everyone, welcome back to In the News at Harrow with another news story. So I'm sure you've all seen this couple before. This is Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They got married in May 2018 and they were in the news for a while after their wedding. Meghan Markle was the first person in the royal family to be not white, and she and Harry got a lot of hate for this on social media and in the news. They slammed Meghan because she apparently wasn't true royalty. Even the royal family didn't accept her into the family because they didn't believe that she fitted in. This kind of mirrors how the royal family treated Princess Diana, Harry's mum. They didn't accept her either, and I'm sure you know that she sadly died, and how she died has been a mystery, and people have different ideas and opinions about this. The hate that Meghan got from the family and the press affected her mental health so much, and Harry wanted to shield her from this by stepping away from the family, partly because he didn't want the same thing happening to Meghan as it did to his mother. So in January 2020, they decided to leave the royal family. Harry said in an interview that the royal family were destroying his mental health, and in another that he needed to get his family out of here. They got even more hate for leaving, and social media blames Meghan Markle for making Harry leave the royal family. Since they left, Harry and Meghan have been living in LA, living a more happy and public life, and they are now expecting another baby. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed this week's news story, and I'll see you next week.
Hello and welcome to a recap of this week's news. Roadmap out of lockdown. On the 22nd of February, the government announced the Roadmap out of lockdown, a set of 4 steps aiming to ease the UK back to normality. It starts with the schools opening again on the 8th of March, with the rules on social contact being reduced on the 17th of May and aims to be completed by the 21st of June. Syria airstrikes. President Biden took his first military action in office and dropped 7 missiles on Iran-backed militias, destroying many buildings. 22 fatalities have been reported, and US officials say they targeted the facilities, as within were tools used by the militias to attack American and Allied forces in Iraq. Unexploded World War II bomb. Finally, an exploded World War II bomb was found on a building site in Exeter. Thousands were evacuated and the device was detonated using a controlled explosion in a 400-ton box of sand, and police said the blast left a crater the size of a double-decker bus. People are still yet to return to their homes. That's all for today, and thank you for watching.
Earlier this week, the BPI announced that they've changed their eligibility rules for award shows. The 3 eligible statements include that you must be born in the UK, hold a British passport, or be a UK resident for 5+ years. These rules apply to artists that are willing to be nominated for the Brits and the Mercury Prize Awards. But what led to this change this week? First, I'll introduce you to Rina Sawayama. Who is Rina Sawayama? She's a Japanese-British singer-songwriter who was born in Japan but has lived in the UK for 26 years. She had released her critically acclaimed album Sawayama in April earlier this year. How does she relate to this? Sawayama was told she wasn't allowed to be nominated for the Brit Awards or the Mercury Prize because she isn't British. So Rina decided to challenge these awards, and people supported her. The hashtag Sawayama is British had trended at number 1 in the UK. Her movement gained major support from Elton John online, and ultimately this led to the change of rules that had happened this week. After Rina was invalidated and told a huge part of her identity was not enough, the industry had to change their view on what being British actually meant. So, what do you think being British means? Is it simply being born in the UK? In an article released by CBBC Newsround in 2012, children of the UK and around the world responded with what they believed being British meant. Some of the responses went along the lines of, "We don't actually know what British is." One of my personal favourites is, "Being British cannot be shown on a piece of paper or passport, but just living in Britain no matter where you came from." However, we do have 4 fundamental British values, which include democracy, rule of law, respect, and individual liberty. These are what we should follow as people living in the UK, and these don't restrict us down to a passport or citizenship. Instead, just where we live and what we follow. So, overall, Britishness is what we make it. There's not a list of restrictions to whatever your identity is. It can't be invalidated by your ethnicity or religion. It's for everyone, and Rina Sawayama's attitude helped reinforce this.
Hi, it's Grace and Izzy, and today we're going to be talking to you about the cold weather in Texas and the positive and negative effects the pandemic has had on the environment. Currently, Texas, a southern state of the USA, has been trying to recover from a week-long winter storm that began on the 13th of February. The storm was such a big deal as the average temperature in Texas is about 15 to 21 degrees Celsius, so they are not prepared for weather this cold. Due to this, there are major problems with power outages and water supply. At the start of the cold snap, the roads and paths became dangerously icy, which caused over 300 car crashes, killing many people. One particular crash in Dallas involved 133 cars and cost 6 people their lives. As the storm progressed, gas lines and wind turbines that are used to generate power for the state froze completely, leaving over 4 million people without any electricity. This meant they couldn't warm their houses, so had to wrap up warm and try and work out other ways of getting power and heat, such as using generators and lighting fires. There are a number of house fires that were caused by people trying to keep warm. Another effect was burst water pipes. The water inside them has partially frozen and expanded, causing them to burst. Many people's houses flooded with icy water and became unstable because of this. It also meant that the water became contaminated, so bottled water was the only safe source of drinking water. In total, there was about $19 billion of damages throughout the storm. There have also been many questions raised about how the power sources were so easily affected and failed so badly. This storm could be an event caused by climate change, giving us yet another warning about how bad things could get if we don't change.
Seeing as this could be our last ever podcast, I thought it would be quite nice if we summed up how the pandemic has both positively and negatively affected our environment. While I was researching, one of the first headlines that caught my eye read, "The Earth has finally stopped shaking." Now, if I'm being completely honest, I had no clue the Earth was actually shaking in the first place. But it turns out that due to everyone being at home, there's simply been a lot less movement and therefore less vibrations. As well as this, the Earth has also become a lot quieter. It makes a lot of sense really if you think about it. Times Square is no longer packed with people, trains, planes and buses basically stopped running last spring, and huge festivals and concerts were all postponed or cancelled. Brussels is seeing about a 30% to 50% reduction in seismic noise since mid-March. This is great news for scientists because it means they can now detect smaller earthquakes and therefore predict when a bigger one might hit with a lot more accuracy. NASA satellite data also reported that better air quality can be seen in areas which have been under lockdown. The trend started with previously badly struck countries including China and Italy, but now applies to the US. Northeastern states in the US, including New York, Philadelphia and Boston, saw a 30% drop in air pollution over last April. LA also has some of the highest smog levels in the country, but now empty streets and motorways have been contributing to lower levels of air pollution, which means clearer, sunnier skies in LA. Sea turtles are also resting a lot more peacefully since lockdown. With stay-at-home orders in place, people have been staying away from the local beaches, which allows sea turtles to thrive in their habitats. Last April in America, sea turtles enjoyed a peaceful nesting season without sunbathers, fishermen, boats or tourists to get in their way. But of course, it isn't all positive. In Brazil, illegal loggers have accelerated the destruction of the Amazon rainforest while the coronavirus ravages the nation. According to satellite data from the Space Research Agency, 64% more land was cleared in April 2020 than the same month last year, even though 2019 was the biggest year for destruction in more than a decade. The president of Brazil has long advocated more commercial exploitation of the Amazon rainforest, but in recent months illegal loggers, miners and ranchers have faced little hindrance from the law enforcement as they grab public land. Scientists say that you can do whatever you want to the Amazon and you will not be punished because officials are using the pandemic as a smokescreen of distraction to allow the destruction to go ahead. Obviously we all know that masks are an essential when trying to stop the pandemic, but it turns out that lots of them have been ending up in the wrong place. After finding disposable masks floating like jellyfish and waterlogged latex gloves scattered across seabeds, conservationists have warned that the coronavirus pandemic could spark huge surges of ocean pollution. They have found dozens of gloves, masks and hand sanitizer bottles beneath the waves of the Mediterranean, mixed with the usual litter of disposable cups and aluminium cans. Experts say it's terrifying knowing that we'll soon have more disposable masks in the ocean than we do jellyfish. So today I'll leave you with the question of, was the pandemic good for the environment or has it actually had a lot more negative impacts?
Hi guys, today I'm talking about the differences in women's football and netball and its diversity. Diversity in women's football. Here I have given you a link to a recent article about the lack of Black, Asian and other ethnic background players in the England women's football squad. The issue was raised when women's football has grown exponentially in the past few years. The number of black mixed-race players in an England squad for a major tournament has decreased from 6 in 2007 to 2 in 2019, and this was frowned upon by players and the public. It started when 2 black England football players were unable to play due to injury and COVID-19 travel restrictions. It soon became apparent that there was an all-white squad of 21. It was only after people pointed it out that it was Ebony Salmon, a black player, who was handed her first senior call-up. At the Women's World Cup in 2019, Demi Stokes and Nikita Paris were the only non-white players in the England squad. In the Men's World Cup squad the year before, there were 13 black players. So why the lack of diversity, especially in women? Aston Villa's Anita Asante, who has 71 England caps, says one reason why there are so few black players in elite women's football is inaccessibility. It's getting more difficult to get the right accessibility for disadvantaged young girls, especially in inner cities, she told BBC Sport. Many people are questioning if the elite sports system really works and doesn't need reviewing to find where the gaps are because more and more young girls' talent for the sport is being wasted. What I mean by inaccessibility is when the number of training centres was reduced from 52 to 30 and based in many rural areas. It caused massive inconvenience to talented players having to travel 2 or 3 hours to get to training. For most, it was just simply impossible, physically and financially, for families. Diversity in netball. In netball, there is more evidence that shows inclusiveness and diversity within the sport. For example, the link here is to an article of a black England player named Sasha Corbin leading a training session for young children online after school. Sasha made her England debut in 2007 and has competed in the Commonwealth Games. She has since continued playing in the Super League teams such as Team Bath, Loughborough Lightning, Northern Mystics in New Zealand, and she currently plays alongside her sister Kadeen Corbin in Team Saracens Mavericks. Kadeen is also an England player herself and played alongside her sister for many years. In each Super League team there is always one, if not more, black players. So why does netball appear to be more diverse than women's football? Is it because it's stereotypically more of a women's sport, or is it because netball is just more advanced in this multicultural country? Some people think that it all stems back to primary and secondary school influences on sport. At Harrow we sometimes struggle for girls' football teams, yet there are always so many girls willing to go to netball and play against other schools. Why is this?
There is a long way to have good enough equality and diversity in the sporting world. So what does the Football Association need to do to encourage young girls to play the sport and carry it on to an elite level, whilst also maintaining support financially for disadvantaged girls? We need to promote women's sport internationally and become more diverse in all sports. Thank you for listening, and I hope this has interested you to help change the future of sport.